All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Dungeon Gambling Hour presented by the Average Athletic Podcast Network. I'm your host, JD Brain, alongside Grant Hurlis, and we will be taking you through the NFL divisional round. All right, welcome back, everybody. Good to have everyone on. And Grant, we're back. Episode 2. It was good last week. We had a lot of fun talking about the picks, and I think there's a lot to learn from last week, and I'm especially excited to talk about the divisional playoffs. I think there's a lot of money to be made. A lot of lines that are right in that Vegas zone. They're great lines all the way throughout. But we're going to try to nail them down today, debrief these games. So I think let's just start with Jags and Chiefs on Saturday afternoon. Kansas City opened up at 10. That is now bet down to 8.5 as of this morning. Over-unders at 52.5. These teams have previous history. Kansas City beat Jacksonville 27-17 at home. Mahomes actually threw a couple of picks and had a fumble in that game as well. Just some against the spread stats. Chiefs are 1-7-1 against the spread in their last 9 home games at Arrowhead. Something to be aware of. They're always getting big numbers though. And the Jaguars are 1-5-1 against the spread in their last 7 meetings with Kansas City. So for me, the hard part is knowing what to take from last week's game. You had the Chargers come into town. Obviously, that was a brutal 2.5 blown. Just everything in terms of the spread. I don't know how many money line bettors there were out there, but that was just a brutal way to end that game. And really, the Jags for, I don't know, what do you want to say, 35 minutes probably got outplayed. And Trevor Lawrence looked terrible and in that first half, and he turned it around. They got 6 coming out at the end of the second quarter, and then they flipped on the switch. Now, last week we talked about that Brandon Staley effect, and that certainly had a part to do with this all. My question to you is, how much do you value last week's win for the Jags coming into Arrowhead? Because I know it's hard to really take it. They did not play a full complete 60-minute game. So how do you value that win coming into this week?
So I think you're going to have a completely different environment. Arrowhead, a lot tougher place to play than in front of your home fans in Jacksonville. I think what I'm looking at in this game is the weather forecast in Kansas City. It's calling for light snow and cold weather, so a little bit different than what Jacksonville is used to playing in. And this is a run defense in Kansas City that can get gashed any day. Usually teams are playing from behind, so no reason to really be running the ball. But this seems like a game where I see ETN maybe breaking off for 100. I think Jacksonville, we saw it last week, and we hit it right on the head. Doug Peterson outcoached Brandon Staley for the second half, which is the most important half. I think we hit it right. I think I like the under in this game a lot. I think 52 is a lot of points, and I think that's a really inflated total because I think 5 out of the 6 games last week went over. So I think Vegas is hitting these inflated totals, and I also like the under on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the under, and as Grant said, it comes down to defense and coaching in this game. And do I think the Chiefs will win? Yes, I do. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to get out of hand. I could be wrong, but I see this as a ground and pound game. I know Isaac Prochet for the Chiefs is having a good year so far, and he's been able to run the ball, and he's been their lead stallion. And they've been kind of missing that identity for, I don't know, the past 4 postseason runs where, yes, they can run the ball, but they don't have that guy that they turn to. And so with him going down the stretch, if they get a 10 to 13 point lead, I feel like Reed and Bieniemy, they're going to be smart enough to know to give that guy touches. We saw it multiple times last weekend where we're looking at these NFL coaches and wondering, what the hell are you doing? Like, literally run the ball. They don't have enough possessions to win the game. And so That's kind of where I'm at with everything. I love the under here. 8.5 is too big of a number for me to lay right now. If there's a world, which it's not getting down to, if there's a world where this gets down to 7, maybe I'm touching it for the push, but that line's going to move a bunch more. And unless we hear about an injury or something of that nature, that line's not going to move down that far. So I'm good with the under at 52.5. But on the other side of the conference, we're going to go to the NFC now in their divisional game on Saturday night in primetime. Eagles at 7.5 for getting getting favored, and the over-unders at 48.5. New York on the money lines plus 285. Now with this game, it's really hard for me to put the Eagles in a spot where I like their consistency with Hurts. So I think I want to say it was week 15. Hurts goes down with the injury, didn't look good, nursed it for 2 or 3 weeks, and came back in week 18 because they had to freaking lock up the NFC East with the Cowboys right on their tails. And so my thing is Hurts. He's been in postseason games before, um, but it's really hard coming off an injury. And I know they had the bye last year. It's really hard coming off of an injury and not playing last week to really get back in rhythm. Um, and I know the Eagles defense is good. And I think if the Eagles want to have a shot to cover this game, their defense is going to have to generate a couple turnovers. I know I wasn't on the Giants last week, but watching Dimes, I mean, he was
Yeah.
spectacular. He was the best quarterback on that slate last week. Now, does he have another one in him? I would like to think so. I think he can be a big time player, and they fall on the shoulders of Saquon Barkley as well. Now, the thing with him is Dable, Saquon went down first 2 or 3 drives and probably got 10 touches and got that ripped off a long touchdown. And then he went non-existent. I didn't understand it, but to credit, Daniel Jones was using his feet, picking up ground too. Um, what do you make of this game, and do you think Philadelphia can cover the 7.5?
Yeah, I'm also thinking Giants and the points here. We have no idea how Hurts is really going to look, or if this injury is going to change, how he has to play with his legs. He cost me a fantasy championship going down, unfortunately. I know it's not on him, but last week I think that was the one we got wrong, the Giants Vikings, and it was a toss up game, and I think I don't think any of us expected Danny Jones to play the way he did. He turned into white Michael Vick.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Vikings defense had no answer for him. So you also have Lane Johnson on the Eagles line playing with a torn adductor, and he's nowhere near 100% for a lineman. And the Eagles offense historically is a lot different without him healthy. So, not having him at full speed, I think you're going to see it. I think the Giants, that front four, that front seven is a lot better than I thought.
Yeah.
It seems like they always have good D tackles, good D linemen. And I think they're going to get to Hurts this weekend. And I think I also like the points here with the Giants side.
Yeah, I do too. And something that is funny you say that, Vanilla Vic and everything like that. I ended up touching I had 39.5. I had his under on rushing yards. He beat it I want to say the first quarter. Yeah. And he was just it was fun to watch, I gotta say. And he was electric, man. And I've always thought of him. I remember watching, actually it was against the Eagles. I can't remember if it was the COVID year or not, laying in bed and watching Thursday night or Monday night game. I can't remember, but it was in prime time. And he has that famous meme where he falls down. I was watching that game live. And that's kind of my whole, I thought that was, Dimes' MO, and he proved it wrong last week. So credit to him. All right, let's flip back now to the AFC side and Sunday's 3 p.m. matchup. We got Bengals and Bills, a rematch of that Monday Night Football game, which we all know what happened from there. Buffalo right now is at 5.5 favored, and over-unders at 49.5. And it's something that I want to talk about. Just some playoff stats on the over-under. In Cincinnati's last 9 games, the under's 8-1. And then the over is actually 4-0 in Buffalo's last 4 games, last 4 playoff games, I should say. I really, this total is in the spot where, I mean, they know what they're doing at 49.5. For me, I'm okay with staying away from the total. That's why I wanted to bring this up. I think it's kind of trappy. I think a lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, they're going to score 50 points, no doubt. I think this game could be really defensive. I mean, the Bengals are going to put forth a strong effort. And if it weren't for the meltdown of really Josh Allen turning the ball over, giving the Dolphins 7 points and 2 picks at the end of the second half, that game probably should have went under last week too. The Dolphins, I mean, should not have really been in that game. And we all know that. Cincinnati 7th in the NFL in passing offense, and they have been excellent in the red zone, ranking 5th in the league, converting into touchdowns. And defensively, Cincinnati is ranked in sixth in scoring defense. They're giving up less than 2 points per game over the last 3 games. We saw it last week with Sam Hubbard and obviously in the Ravens game, and it was fun to watch. I really want to nail down Joe Burrow here. The lines diminish, but it just seems like Burrow doesn't really care. He's going after it, and he's a big time player, and we've seen that now for the past 2 seasons of the postseason. He steps up, rises to the occasion, and I think the number one thing for him is he doesn't give the game away. That's huge for a guy like him, who's still under 5 years in the league. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a really, really good manager of the game, and he's smart with what he does. What's your outlook on this game of Bills and Bengals?
Yeah, I think last week we saw Bengals when faced with adversity still able to come through. I think it's kind of Joe Burrow's MO. In the big games he comes through. My initial worry is about the Bengals being without some linemen. Joe Burrow gets the ball out quick, so really never an issue with him. He's got receivers that don't run these deep routes for him, other than maybe Chase. Everything's real tight and real close for him. So not as worrisome of a defense for me as Ravens. Very, very turnovery, if that's even a word. But I'll take I'll take my chances with Buffalo Bills defense. I don't think it's as good as the Ravens. I think it's a more solid defense at the back end with two good safeties and Poyer. And Hyde, good corners. Front seven's a little weak. Good linebackers though with Milano. So I like the Bengals in this spot. I really do. I think Burrow's on a mission, sort of a comeback tour to get back to the Super Bowl. Whether that happens yet to see. Probably gonna have to go through Chiefs in the AFC Championship round, but
down in Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, I like the Bengals in this spot. I know a lot of people are on the Bills, and this line's been moving a little bit. This line's been moving. As far as over under, I'm not sure I'd touch it. I think it's sort of a sucker line.
I think it is too. Yep.
I think they want you to take the over here, thinking this is going to be a high scoring game. Vegas obviously knows something is up here if they're setting it that low, especially after the overs hitting all last week. So something's definitely up with this over under, something I'd stay away from. Definitely a red flag for me. But I think this is going to be the most fun game. I think this is probably going to be a field goal type game. Come down to the maybe even an OT game.
Yeah.
Even if you would be interested in betting on that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that me and you are in agreement on. I'm going to take the Bengals at 5.5 too. Give me the points. I think this is a field goal game. I think the Bengals are good enough to win this game. Really, I'm surprised this line's not sitting at like 3. I mean, I don't want to say 2.5, but at least 3.5. I'm really surprised that public's backing the Bills. I mean, it is moving. I think it's moved 2 points now, or a 1.5 off the original slated spread. But yeah, give me the Bengals. I think too highly of Joe Burrow, and if you give him 5 points, I'm okay with that. So it's something. This game is definitely one where don't talk to me on Sunday. I'm just going to be watching these games on Sunday. They're going to be fun. I think these two games are going to be the most competitive. Should be a lot of back and forth, good defensive play. Both teams should be able to run the ball. I mean, to be fair, Buffalo is they forget Devin Singletary exists, I think.
Yeah.
Some points, but that's all right. They're a prolific passing team, and we've known that now for a couple seasons. But I just want to move to our last game, Cowboys and Niners, Sunday late game. I don't know what we make of that Cowboys game last week against the Bucks. 45-year-old Tom Brady goes out there and basically lays an egg, I should say, lays a duck, threw a couple ducks. He gave the ball away too many times in the red zone, and they just looked terrible. To Dan Quinn, his credit, his defense played well for the Cowboys. They stepped up. Parsons looked good. DBs they feel like they're all over the field. I know Diggs gets a lot of shit, but he played well. He really did. And for the most part, the Bucks were healthy. It looked like Jensen was still laboring a little bit from that knee. He wasn't full health, but you could tell that coming a year off of an injury. You're not going to be. Um, 49ers are at 3.5 right now, favored. Over unders at 46.5. On the money lines, San Francisco's minus 190. Cowboys are now plus 170. In the last 3 games, the Cowboys have covered. The Niners are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 divisional playoff games, something to be aware of. Um, and on defense, the Niners, they rank actually first in scoring defense. And they're second in rushing defense. They're a really good unit. And they work together too. And I think last week we saw something with against the Seahawks where yes, their defense can keep them into games, but Purdy is legit. McCaffrey is
Yeah.
legit. These guys are studs on the other side of the ball too. And it was fun to watch. And he really took over that game. It could gotten worse. I mean, there was a play where Purdy, it almost looked like Johnny Manziel in 2013. Like he spun out of the pocket. I don't know if you know which
Yep.
one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know the
Spun out
play
of the
you're talking
pocket,
about.
and I think it was Ayuk dropped it in the back of the end zone. It was so much fun to watch, and he's really talented, and I think it's gonna be fun to watch him for years to come. But Grant, what do you make of this game? Who do you like?
I like the 49ers in this one. This 49ers team reminds me a lot of the one that we saw in the Super Bowl in 2020, where Jimmy Garoppolo was just kind of the game manager and letting his defense do the work, putting him in good spots. The thing with a good defense that I think is really underrated in the NFL, it reminds me a lot of what the Pittsburgh Steelers do, which is force turnovers and force good field position for your offense. And that's going to get you points. And then on top of it, when you have, a top 3 receiver, receiving back and McCaffrey, a guy who can do it all. And then you have a bunch of, yards after catch receivers like Ayuk, Ray McLeod, and Debo, obviously, who can rip one off for 80 at any time. I like the 49ers a lot in this one. I think the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, I think he's, excited for a big win after beating a, piss poor Buccaneers team, but I don't think this 49ers team is going to take lightly. And I like the 49ers a lot in this one, even at, I know not great odds at the money line, but this you can get it at a lot of different price points. I've seen it as far up as 205 on the money line. I've seen it far as low as the 175 range. So
Yeah,
I'll definitely
exactly.
shop prices as a money line better. 3.5 is kind of an interesting line. I don't think this game is really going to get out of hand just the way Shanahan's offense is run. But I like the Niners in this one.
Yeah, I love it. And just talking about, shopping around lines too. I think it's not a terrible idea too. If you want to take 49ers money line and parlay that with an alternate spread, pick a team you like, maybe give them 4, 5, 6 more points, maybe even 7. I don't know. Get through those key numbers. The key numbers of 3, 4, and get it through the key number of 7 as well. And I think that's a nice play for the weekend. And especially you can probably get it at plus money. I want to say I haven't built anything in FanDuel or anything like that, but put a parlay together, throw the Niners money line in it, and forget about it. All right, that wraps up the NFL discussion, and I think we made some really good points along the way, and it was a lot of fun to talk and just break down these games. We're able to bounce ideas off each other really well and give you guys some different perspectives. Me and Grant may not agree on every single pick, but just give you guys something to think about, and really trying to make you guys money and get you guys in the best shape to win. But that leads me into our next segment, the Dungeon Six Pack. And last week we went 4-2, man. We made some money. Obviously we had Ravens plus 9.5. They covered. We had 49ers minus 9.5. They covered. Cowboys, they covered. And then we had the over in the Miami Buffalo game, which was pretty low, but I'm glad it hit. It went way
Yeah.
over. I think the total ended up at like 67, 68, something like that. And then we had, I mean, it's not really a bad beat because it didn't really come down to the final quarter. I'm just gonna call it like a bad game. I mean, the
Yeah.
Chargers, they should have covered. I had an option. I had this line myself. I had an option to cash out, and I didn't do it. It was almost up to my full amount. To my mistake, didn't expect a team who's up by 4 touchdowns to blow a lead like that. And then we were off with the Vikings game, but other than that, I think really realistically probably should have went 5-1. But is what it
Right.
is, and we rebound. But 4-2 on the year, it's a great place to start. And we're going to get some winners out this week as well. So, Grant, if you want to open it up with your first pick in the six pack.
Sure thing. So my first pick for this week is going to be a parlay, alternate spread parlay with the Chiefs and Eagles. I like the Chiefs to cover -3.5. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think it's just a matter of by how much. And I think the Eagles, even without, a fully healthy Jalen Hurts, we don't know how healthy he is. We don't know how his ground game is going to be. We don't know what he's really going to look like. But I think the Eagles, just because of their defense, are going to take this game a much more, I think well-rounded quarterback. I think Danny Jones. I think this is, we're going to see our normal Daniel Jones, maybe a couple turnovers, maybe a couple fumbles. I think this Eagles team's going to turn him over. That isn't to say I don't think that the Giants will cover the 7.5. Going back earlier in the show, I think the Giants can still cover the 7.5 points. That's a lot. I just think that the Eagles will definitely cover a -1.5, and you can get that at, a -124 value. So not great value on, a 2-team parlay, but I think these are two teams we expect to see win. The Chiefs obviously are going to probably take the Jags out pretty easy, knock them out in this divisional round. It's just a matter of by how many points. And I think 3.5, I'm safe taking the 3.5, and the Eagles -1.5, safe with that too.
Yeah, and I think that's a great pick. It's a creative parlay. It gets the job done. I love that pick. For myself, in my first play in the six pack, I'm going to go for over 80.5 receiving yards in that same game for Travis Kelce. If you're a football fan and you've watched the last 5 postseasons, you know that this is playoff Kelce. This is what he comes to do. This guy is always going over 100 yards. In his previous 6 games, he's gone over 100 in 3 of them and over 95 in the last 3. This guy is a machine, and this line is simply way too low at 80.5. He is Mahomes' number one guy when shit goes bad and he has to get out of the pocket. He's always on those little seam routes on 3rd and 10, on 3rd and 12s, on 3rd and 8s. He's always on those seam routes down the middle of the field, picking up 18 yards at a time, 20 yards at a time. Chunk play guy. And here's just a few more supplements for you. The Jags are actually dead last in the league in pass DVOA versus tight ends. I mean, they are just abysmal against tight ends, worse than the league. And then on average, when they're not playing guys named Travis Kelce, they also surrender 62.5 receiving yards per game to that position during the regular season. And that's with your average tight end. That's not Travis Kelce. These guys are creative. And I think in going down the stretch, you're going to have to look for Kelce. I mean, he's so big. He's taking that almost Gronkowski role that he played for so many years in New England. I really like Kelce in the spot. I think this is a home run pick, and I'm excited to watch because I think it's going to be a fun game. Grant, pick 3.
Yeah, so for pick 3 and my second pick, I like Zay Jones over 4.5 receptions. Going with another player prop here. -140 value on this one. I think we all know that, the Jags, if they get down early in this game, are going to be forced to throw the ball to keep up with this Chiefs offense. And if Trevor Lawrence is going to have to pile up the passing yards, the ball's got to go somewhere. So obviously you got Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk. But other than that, there aren't many receiving options outside of those 3. I think you have Marvin Jones Jr., but, he frequently sees the field unless they're really in a spread offense. And I think Zay Jones, that is, will be a big part of this game plan. He's been a focal point of their aerial attack all year. Typically gets pretty good volume. And once again, as the scoring amounts for Kansas City, the Jags are, going to get pressure to keep pace, and that they can't do that running the ball.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to run the ball with the ETN. It's going to come down to the fact is how well can Lawrence keep these guys in the game with his arm, and I think it's a great pick, and I love that play. For myself, the 4th pick, I'm going to go with the Bengals +5.5. I think this is simply too many points for the Bills to cover. I don't think this is a touchdown game. I think this is a field goal game, which aligns perfectly with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's good enough to win this game. I know we talked about it. Yes, they have a diminished offensive line. I'm not worried about that. Burrow gets the ball out quick, one of the fastest in the league, and he's got offensive weapons scattered all around him. I mean, this freaking guy from Atlanta, Hayden Hurst, really, had a average year, and then he turns into freaking Tony Gonzalez in the playoffs. I mean, he played well last week. Um, Obviously, we know the story with Jamar and Mixon and Higgins and Boyd. I mean, they're targets, and then when those guys get tired, Samaje comes in and spills Joe Mixon. It's just like they're so fun to watch. This is a field pick. I like it. I think the Bengals defense is going to keep Josh Allen relatively suppressed. I don't think this is a shootout. They keep it within 5.5. No problem. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Grant. Pick 5. Tell me what you got.
Yeah, for my last pick, it's a square play. Everybody can get on me, but I think this is, a safe play. Parlay this with something, get yourself back to, even odds plus money. I like the 49ers money line. I know a lot of people are riding Cowboys high after last week. But the Cowboys are, facing a different animal this week. San Francisco ranks number 1 in scoring defense, number 1 in the rush defense. And on the other side of the ball, Brock Purdy, is playing the quarterback position better than a fading version of Tom Brady, than the one that got blown out by the Dallas defense. So Dallas definitely has some good playmakers, really good linebackers with Micah Parsons, good on the back end too. I know Diggs, like you said, gets a lot of shit for, giving up a lot of touchdowns, but getting a lot of picks. So he's kind of a boom or bust DB. But I think Brock Purdy is surrounded with enough playmakers, and he doesn't really have to do much to carry a red hot team like the 49ers.
Yeah, I love that pick. And I'm going to actually stay in the NFC just on the other side. I'm going Giants plus 7.5. I know you talked about the parlay, and in there you're saying that the Giants, this is a big number for the Eagles to cover. And so you and me are in agreement. And I think the Giants, this is a slam dunk. I think they're going to cover this. If they get beat by 7, you're still, if you get it early enough and you buy it at 7.5, you're still winning. And that's the beauty of this thing. It's really shopping lines and figuring out where you can get your best number. I'm a believer now. Maybe I'm gonna go back on my word. I'm a believer now in Daniel Jones. He proved a lot to me last week in Minnesota. Torched that defense. This Hodgins guy playing on a sprained ankle. I mean, this guy is Jerry Rice in the flesh. I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch. They're fun, and they do have some weapons. Some guys that are not necessarily known as game breakers, but they work together as a team, and their defense played well. I'm really excited to watch that game. Going to be interesting to see how Hurts comes back, but I'm okay with the Giants at plus 7.5. All right, so that wraps up all of our picks in the 6-pack. I really had a fun time on this episode. I think there's a lot of money to be made. Had some really good conversations, and it was a lot of fun. And I just want to thank you guys for all your support. It's definitely going to be a grind, but reach out to us, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. We're going to try to keep these winners coming out with a 6-pack every week and then giving you guys some analysis. We're going to have to start straying away from NFL, obviously, because the teams are dwindling down now. But, at least until springtime, we're going to be able to hit on college basketball, some hockey, the NBA, and leading up to March Madness. I think we're going to have a lot of fun conference championship week. And, March Madness is the best time to be a sports fan, really. And so we're just building up to that point every week, and really excited and glad to have you guys on. Grant, do you got any closing remarks?
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun week. I think.
Yeah.
Let's go back-to-back weeks in the green. 4-2 last week. We made you money. You tailed us. Depending on your unit size, that could be more or less. But 4-2, that's a winning week. One interesting thing, JD, that I noticed is that 90% of gamblers quit before they hit big. So never give up, even in a losing week. We're going to start seeing guys from, Ohio guys especially start dwindling off here. Once they start taking losing weeks, tail us, we're going to make you money.
Yeah.
We'll pay your rent, pay your mortgage.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point of the show, right? If you put the units, if they're big enough, we'll pay them.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on, Grant. Really appreciate it, and thank you guys all for watching and listening. Don't forget to download the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, do everything you guys do. I love it. We're here for the ride. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.